everyone, it's me, Dani, and today I'm back with a new video. So, as you all know, I like books. I talk about them all the time, and part of liking books means you go way too crazy at bookstores. So, I have a book haul for you guys, because I have acquired quite a few books in the past couple of months. So I have 12 books to show you, so let's just hop right into it, shall we? The first book I got is Reign the Earth by A.C. Goggin, and this is a YA fantasy. That's what most of these are, because that's what I read. But this one follows a girl named Shalia, and she is about to be married to a king of neighboring land. The problem is, this king is very against magic and people who have magic, the Elemente. And so he has them hunted down and killed and tortured. And Shalia is going to marry him to bring about an alliance between their two nations. But on the day of their wedding, Shalia discovers that she is an Elemente and that she has power over the earth. So that makes things complicated because she has to hide her powers from her new husband, otherwise she will be killed for it. But she also wants to learn how to use them and to keep them under control so that she can help her brother and her friend, who are members of the resistance that are fighting against the king. So this is her trying to find a balance between what she wants and what she can have. The next book I have for you is The Ends of the World by Maggie Hall. And this book is the final installment in the Conspiracy of Us trilogy, which is great because I was finally able to read it, and I read this entire trilogy in 4 days because YOLO. But this story follows a girl named Avery West who lives a somewhat normal life. She and her mother move around a lot, and one day all of that gets disrupted. It's the day of Avery's junior prom, and this cute new boy at school tells her that it's not safe for her there. She's not as normal as she thinks she is, and her family is looking for her. But then another mysterious boy shows up and says the exact same thing, and so she goes with them to Paris, finds her new family, and finds out that they run the world from behind the scenes. The thing about Avery is that she is a part of a prophecy, and it's her trying to figure out this prophecy and trying to not die in the process. The next book I have is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. So this book has been popping around BookTube for a while, and this is a retelling of Labyrinth, which is a movie with David Bowie in it. But this book follows a girl named Liesel who has had dreams about the Goblin King, and he's kind of taken over her life. But now she's 18, and her dreams her musical dreams are fading away. And then one day, her younger sister is taken captive by the Goblin King, and she goes on a crazy adventure to save her sister from this Goblin King that she's been dreaming about all of her life. And I haven't read this yet, but it sounds really intriguing, so it's definitely on my TBR list. The next book I have is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexander Christo. This is a dark Little Mermaid retelling, which I've read this and I loved it because Little Mermaid is one of my favorite fairy tales, and dark makes everything better. But it follows this girl named Lyra. She is the princess of the sirens. Her mother is the sea witch. And every year on her birthday, she harvests a heart from a human prince. So she has 17 hearts, but she ends up getting her 18th heart a whole month early, which is against the rules, and so her mother, the sea witch, banishes her to land. It also follows another character named Elian, and he is a prince of one of the kingdoms, and he is a siren hunter, so he and his band of pirates go around and hunt sirens. And one day on one of their expeditions, they find this mysterious girl in the middle of the ocean, and they take her on board, and she eventually becomes one of the crew. So this is them Lyra's trying to steal Prince Elian's heart, but also not let him know that she is a siren. Now, speaking of Little Mermaid being my favorite fairy tale, we've got this bind-up of fairy tales. It's absolutely beautiful. It is Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, and it is illustrated by Mina Lima, which is a graphic design company that has worked on movies such as Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And the best thing about this book, aside from how pretty it is it has little interactive elements with it. So I had a lot of fun playing with like the little interactive bits and looking at all the illustrations when I was reading this, and it was really fun because I want to read more original fairy tales, and I think this was a good start for me. And now we have one of the only books that is not a YA fantasy, because it is a middle grade fantasy. And that book is Aru Shah and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. So this is the first of many more books to come of the Rick Riordan Presents imprint of Disney Hyperion, which is made to introduce a whole bunch of other mythologies that Rick Riordan himself doesn't feel that he knows enough about to write. So this one is written by Roshni Chokshi, and it is Hindu mythology. And it follows this girl named Aru who has a tendency to spread the truth a little bit. So she goes to a fancy private school where all these kids are going on these crazy adventures over the summer, and Aru feels a little left out, so she tells these lies. And then one day, some of her classmates show up at the museum that her mother curates to try and catch her in one of her lies. They don't believe that one of the exhibits is haunted, so Aru goes to light the lamp that is supposedly haunted to prove them wrong. And when she lights the lamp, time freezes and she releases the Sleeper, which is a being intent on world destruction. So in order to stop the Sleeper and to bring back time, essentially, she has to find and free the 4 Pandava brothers. So I'm super excited to read this. It came out like March and I finally got my hands on it, and I've been in the mood for a good middle grade, and so I know this is going to live up to that dream. The next book I have for you is Fury Born by Claire Legrand. I'm currently reading it. I'm not very far in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. But this follows 2 queens that have lived 1,000 years apart. So the first queen is Riel, who one day accidentally shows the world that she can use all 7 different types of elemental magic. And the only people that can do that are the 2 prophesized queens, a sun queen or a blood queen. So Riel has to do all of these trials to prove that she is the sun queen. But if she fails, she will be executed. That is only if the trials don't kill her first. And then we follow the other queen, Eliana, who lives 1,000 years later, and she is a bounty hunter. So she thrives on violence. And one day her mother goes missing, and she teams up with people to try and find her mother. And I'm super excited to see how these stories interconnect, and I'm really excited to finish this. The next book I got is another sequel, and it is Fireblood by Ellie Blake, and that is the sequel to Frostblood by Ellie Blake. So this story follows a girl named Ruby who is a Fireblood in a world ruled by Frostbloods. So that means Ruby has the ability to control fire, whereas Frostbloods have the ability to control ice. So one day, Ruby's existence becomes known to the king, and her mother is killed, and Ruby is taken into captivity. But then Ruby ends up joining with these rebel Frostbloods and reins to take down the king, who is evil. And so it's her trying to figure out her powers and deal with the Frostbloods while also dealing with First Loves. The next book I have, I'm really excited because I don't think I've read a book like this before. This book is Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, and this is a Viking story, which I don't think I've ever read one before. But it follows this girl named Elin. She is a warrior in her Aska clan, and they're at war with their rival clan, the Riki clan. And one day on the battlefield, Elin sees her brother fighting for the enemy team. But the really weird thing about that is that she watched her brother die 5 years ago. So when she's trying to solve the mysteries around her brother, the Riki clan is attacked by this clan that's not supposed to exist. And so the two enemy clans, have to try to work together to defeat this even bigger evil. And I'm really excited to get into this book because it sounds so dark and intriguing, and I'm just really excited to get into it. The next book I have here is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. So earlier this year, I read Amanda Foody's debut, Daughter of the Burning City, and I really enjoyed it. It was really dark and twisted, which is my favorite kind of literature. And so this has been on my radar ever since I read that. And so this follows this girl named N, who is training to become a classic, like a lady, to make her debut into society. But her mother has not yet returned from a trip to New Rains, which is the city of sin. So N herself sets out to New Rains to find her mother. And along the way, she meets Levi, who is a crime lord in New Rains, and he's not at all interested in helping N find her mother until he is told that he will get paid for his troubles. That's good news for Levi because he is on the tail end of an investment scheme that has gone very badly wrong. And if he doesn't pay back the people he needs to pay back, he will die. So it's them trying to save Levi from death and also trying to find N's mother, and it's super good. It's super amazing. I read it. I finished it last week, and I am super hyped for King of Fools, which is the sequel. The next book I have for you is yet another sequel, and that is Julia Defiant by Catherine Egan. So this book is a sequel to Julia Vanishes, and it follows this girl named Julia who has the ability to go beyond what most people can sense with their senses. She has the ability to be unseen. And so Julia leads a life of crime because she lives in a city where witches are publicly drowned and magic is a very evil thing. So Julia takes a job as a spy for her friend, and she becomes a housemaid for this very well-known lady in this city. But she has some very mysterious guests, and through her adventures, Julia learns that there is a connection between the guests at the house where she is posing as a maid and the murderer that is leaving bodies around the city. And I have read Julia Vanishes, but I need to reread it because it's been so long since I've read it, and it's just such a cool dark fantasy, and I'm really excited about it. The last book I have today is probably the most exciting one, and that is the special 20th anniversary edition of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I got the Ravenclaw version because I am a Ravenclaw, and so not only is this Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, it also has some bonus content, so information about the house that you get. So I got the Ravenclaw edition, so it has information about Ravenclaw House, and it's got like a little short story type thing about house elves, and I'm super excited. Like I'm going to do another Harry Potter reread specifically so I can read this book. But anyway, that is all the books I have for you today. Let me know if you've read any of them and what you thought. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you like seeing my face and you want to see more of it, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. I go home and read a book.